We are on. Well, so far it's just the three of us, and that is fine. So, this is our first episode of a little pet project I put together called After the Session. And we've all attended conferences, whether it be jazz conferences, band conference, Midwest, NAMM, state conference, whatever it is. And they're awesome. They're awesome. They're, opportunities to see great bands, to listen to great, experts on this and that. But I think we all can admit that we've had times where we walked into a session and it either wasn't what we thought it was going to be from the write up, or maybe the speaker, the presenter was somebody with really good ideas, but they didn't have a ton of classroom experience. And so you sit there and kind of go, okay, I get it. That's a super good idea, but I don't think I can apply it. And when Travis Pardee, my friend, your guys' band director, we were at NAMM this year in Anaheim, and we were talking about a session we had just completed. And I started thinking, this is the real stuff. I think about my 30 years of doing this and going to conferences or, whatever it happens to be, PD and stuff. And the real conversations kind of happen after, at the bar, in the lobby, hotel room, whatever. That you sit and kind of break down the stuff that we talked about at a session and kind of more real talk, yeah, I've tried that, or that sounds like a cool idea. Have you done anything like that? That kind of conversation. And so that's what started this idea of a podcast, and using Substack makes it really, really simple to do. So my first guests, this first one, as we get out of the gate, are two amazing previous students. I had the pleasure of watching through middle school and through high school and now into their teaching careers, Nico Lopez and Ryan Haynes. So I want you guys, if you could, just take a minute or so to tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'll do the about me at the end. And that way people who are truly interested will stay. And but if you guys could do a quick intro of yourselves, that would be super cool.
Sure. I'll go first. I'm Nico Lopez. As Dean mentioned, I was a student of his at Foothill High School. I think it was a junior when you started there, something like that. And so I grew up in Vegas, grew up in Henderson, was a student of Dean's, went to college at the University of Arizona, and I feel like I kind of knew since middle school that I wanted to study music and go into teaching music, go into teaching band, and studied music education. I'm a euphonium player, so I did lots of euphonium stuff, competitions, tuba euphonium conferences, all the nerdy stuff. And then now I teach band at Mannion Middle School. And prior to teaching band at Mannion, I taught at Schofield Middle School, where Ryan's at now. And yeah, teach band, do lots of stuff. I help run CCSC honor band. I do some local honor groups around Vegas, try and just do as much band as I can.
And my name's Ryan Haynes, and there's been a lot of similarities in this backstory, but I grew up in Henderson and in Vegas, and I went to high school at Foothill as well with Dean and Travis, and I had the pleasure of growing up with a father who was a band director, so every drive to school was a master class on what I need to work on and what the band is working on and why we're working on it. I went to college at UNLV, and my first 2 years teaching at Schofield Middle School, and it's been awesome, and learned a lot and learned about a lot about what I don't know, and it's been awesome.
Definitely.
Right. Cool. I'm really glad to have you guys. When I started thinking about this, you were the very two first people I thought of, because you're young, you're not jaded like some of us are, and that could be a good thing, right? It kind of keeps you from making some mistakes. But you guys are bright and full of life, and also Ryan, your dad. I mean, I've taught for many, many, many years at the high school level and university level, and I started at the middle level. I've returned to middle school band directing, and when I moved to Nevada in 2013, I remember going and seeing the Mannion Middle School band and just jaw dropped, absolutely jaw dropped at the quality of that band, and got to know Phil because we taught together, and was so impressed with the purposefulness with which he taught, and the professionalism he approached kids with. Still had tons of fun, right? You know, but had really high expectations for kids. And so when I thought about like where do we start this, I really thought you guys would be great because not only are you, you know, young teachers who are really, really digging in hard with what you're doing, but you have experience with some really spectacular educators.
Definitely.
And you know, it's a great, you know, the One Hill program there in Henderson of having everybody just funnel right into Foothill and high expectations continue. So anyway, I could go on for a long, long time about how much I respect you guys as musicians and teachers,
Like,
and it's cool to have you. One of the things that is going to be a highlight of this podcast, whatever we call it, is that we're talking to musician educators, right? Um, I consider both of you very, very fine musicians. And I think that that in and of itself provides us the opportunity to teach in a slightly different way than maybe people who haven't had a lot of success as players.
mhm.
Can look at it through that professional lens. So anyway, that's as far as introductions go. I'm really, really glad you guys decided you wanted to do it. And it's kind of late on a Monday night, so we're going to
Hey,
dive right in.
yeah, thanks for.
Each week, yeah. Each week is going to have kind of a focus individually. And one of the things that I decided I wanted to focus on for this because I have a problem with it. I'm not great at it. This has been one of my weaknesses. I'm a great rehearser. I feel very comfortable being musical in front of kids, breaking down things, you know, working on this and that. But assessment has not been a skill set of mine. I've always struggled to be consistent in assessment and sometimes my mind goes to, you know, it's unnecessary. The bands sound great. Grade books are dumb, you know, and but they're not right. And so I think I want to start in that place with you guys is what does and you guys just take maybe a minute or two each to kind of do a really umbrella overview of how you guys are approaching your grading schema at your school. And you don't have to be like percentages and all that stuff, but like we try to do this and this and this. So go with that.
Do you want to go first, Ryan?
Sure, I'll take it. This year's actually been a hallmark of I am trying things and testing things out and looking to find different ways. But the main path I test is we have a test every single Monday. We choose that test the week beforehand. I go over what's going to be. I go over the expectations to practice it. I talk about whatever the fundamentals they need to know to understand it. And different classes I test in different ways. So my Win Ensemble is entirely on Make Music, which is an online assessment platform which the students can practice with. They use a metronome with it. They can tell them when they're wrong, when they're right. They submit it through that. And then every other class is a hybrid. So I've given the students the opportunity to get the test done ahead of time. And in fact, I've opened every single test for the whole semester. So they can, if my high flyers can get as many tests done as possible and do everything's great, they can keep going through that. And if the students have not tested, by the time we get to that Monday, I will hear them in class right there and then. So it lets me be able to let my high flyers go. And I also get to catch everyone who does not want to do anything at home. So that's my main fundamental way of testing things.
Cool.
Cool.
And then go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say real quick that when like a rough thought is like what percentage of the total grade are those assessments?
It is a 80%, 20%. So 80% is summative assessments, 20% is formative, and the summative
Okay.
is it's almost entirely testing. We do have concert grades, but I'm intending to take those away in the next year because I find that they aren't really worth it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Nico.
Yeah. Well, so that's like, district wide, they have like the 80-20 split. They set that up for us. So I follow the same 80% summative, 20% formative. Formative is like weekly rehearsal grades. Like, are you prepared with your music? Are you prepared with your pencil? Are you prepared with your instrument? If you're not, you lose points, whatever. Like the variation on what everybody does for rehearsal points. And then I kind of follow a similar structure to Ryan with my like summative testing. So beginners, well, everybody for the most part, if we do in-class playing tests or on Mondays, I have 2 intermediate bands and an advanced band. The low intermediate band and beginning band always tests on Mondays, live tests, just in class. We turn on a metronome or play with a backing track or whatever. I also use Make Music, so we'll typically test with the backing track so that we teach it with the backing track. We teach them how to practice it at home. We teach them how to count it and do note names and practice fingerings and buzz it for brass players and all that stuff. So then they're just replicating what they practice in the classroom. And then for my top intermediate group, my advanced intermediate, and my top band, they're also primarily doing pass offs and playing tests through Make Music. So the top group, early in the year, we really hammer like scales and technique, so we don't have to do as many tests on scales later in the year, so we can focus more on like honor band etudes, all state etudes. Throughout the fall, when we were preparing etudes, we were breaking those down and doing like, okay, this week's pass off is the first 16 measures, next week's pass off is the first 24 measures, and I was kind of using that as like a metered guide to make sure that kids were practicing their music and learning it at a rate that would help them be successful on their auditions. And then so far this semester, now that our focus is kind of shifted to festival, we've been testing like excerpts of festival music. Like, okay, this is the trickiest, 16 measure excerpt from our ballad, or this is the trickiest, 8 measure technique passage from our closer, whatever. So kind of similar to Ryan, just that top group, rather than like just book work and scales and all that stuff, I try to hammer that throughout like August and September, so we can start like digging in on some of the reps that they're going to be performing. But like grading wise and weight wise in the grade book, really similar, like 80%. Most of the grade is summative. And I also agree with Ryan. I've been trying to come up with a way. I do notice that there are always those kids that will be like, like, I don't need to get a good grade on my summative test because I'm going to get my concert grade and that will help fix everything. So I have definitely noticed that, and I've been trying to come up with ways that I can like forego that, because I hate when kids do not do any work and then still end up with like a C because they went to the concert. And it's like, well, I can't fight that, because like that's true. Like, you did go to the concert, you wore your uniform, you behaved, like you performed, like you get your full points, whatever. And sure, now you get a C, even though you didn't do any of the pass offs throughout the last 6 weeks or whatever. But yeah, that other than that little snippet in there, I do feel that the system does help keep kids accountable for learning their concert music and learning their etudes and learning their scales and all that stuff.
Awesome. It's funny that you put it that way, because I think that this after the session concept, like, I've sat in assessment clinics and workshops where I've been given 8 pieces of paper, double-sided, stapled together, telling me all things to do. And like, the concert assessment. And there was something that happened here in Washington State several years ago where an attorney parent actually went at the district and said, you can't make my kid do a concert. It's after school. It's outside of the school day. And that's, we can only grade kids on stuff that we do in the building. And everybody went, and it was one person, right? And first of all, it was one person. And, we shouldn't light our hair on fire for one situation. But for me, when that happened, I kind of was in the same place as you were, where it was like, man, I have a really hard time with a kid who's never turned in a pass off, has never finished one of their scale tests, have never done all this. I've been trying different things for decades now, and they go to the concert and they pull a C, because they went and did what they were supposed to. And I think that we've had those. I mean, you guys have only done this for a little while, but you might have had this, and if you haven't, you will have those parents that are like, my kid does band because he really likes playing this instrument. He's not going to be a professional. Why are you so hard on it? Like, well, we're teaching them skills. It's a class. And I say all the time, we're in school and this is a class, right? Period. That's where that's hard for me. So, it's funny because what you guys just talked about and kind of where we are in this conversation right now is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like real talk about, yeah, that sounds cool and that sounds cool, but realistically what we want to do is we want to work on skill acquisition and mastery, right? But it really comes down to that. And so this comes down to something that's really deep for me, and it's going to be a big part of kind of what I do as I talk more and more about teaching middle school again. And we mentioned this when we were just casually talking last week, but I've really come to a place in my teaching where I really believe that middle school wise, if I had to boil down what's my job, My job is to teach kids the foundational skills to be able to move forward into the high school program. And it's not, and I don't want to oversimplify this, but it's not to create spectacular performance ensembles. I think that that's a secondary effect. And if you're doing it right, if you're doing all the foundational preparation and you're teaching kids to go through assessments and be consistent, all those things, those strong performing ensembles will happen whether you want them to or not. You know, kids run every day in PE, they're gonna get better, you know. But that my goal as a middle school director is to look at what does the high school need? What is going to help those kids continue, want to stay, to enjoy being in band, and to have fun and passion and excitement and everything else and continue. So when they get to the high school, they're set. They walk in, they know what loud and soft means. They know all those kind of things. So I want because this is, again, and I'm going to kind of pull it back to the after the session concept. I've sat through many things where I've listened to, this is the lit you should do. These are the warm-ups you should do. This is this you should do to have an outstanding middle school performance ensemble. And I'm hoping, and again, this is an experiment with these kids. It's a new school that I'm at. I'm hoping that changing my perspective of my job is creating all the basic concepts of musicality for these young musicians so that when they get to the high school, they can really do some spectacular stuff. And I want to know, think about that. You can say, I think that's a bunch of BS and you're full of it and you're just running up another flagpole like you regularly do. Or I hadn't thought of it that way. Or, yeah, man, you're the smartest person I've ever met. So ready to go.
Well, that,
I think it's a combination of the chicken and the egg kind of thing. Like, and yes, of course, our you know, the fundamentals are important, but it's like sports, right? If you can't have a good baseball team if you don't do good fundamentals, we can't play catch, we can't do scales, we can't do long tones, we can't do this and this and this. I have found that when I have focused really heavily on scales, scale progressions in third, scale progressions and scale pattern one, and those things, and really dive deep into really good fundamentals, the performances come with it. And I do agree that is a part of our job is to give the students the skill set to go to high school and be successful. It's also part of our job to make them like music enough that even go there, because there's a big jump from middle school band to high school band. And the hard thing is, if we only take it as we are just building the skill set and not building the love of it, they're never going to go. If all I think about band is, okay, I know my 12 meter scales, I know my scale pattern one. Cool. But if they don't understand the why are we doing this in the first place, what's the whole point of this? I think a good combination of building the fundamentals while building a love of, like, listen to how great this sounds. Listen how great you sound. Listen to this great, etude over here that you're playing. I think a good combination of that is a really good fundamental middle school, I don't know, ethos.
Cool. Yeah. Nico, before you go, because if people are watching this, they don't know me, and you guys do, you know that I'm like a 97% edutainer. Like my whole focus in teaching is just, I go hard all the time. Fun is a byproduct of the way that I teach, and it's the way that I was raised. So I and not everybody teaches that way, right? Like that's not a standard teaching philosophy. And so I think I don't want anybody to misunderstand that I'm like, I'm going to come in and we got these scales and scale patterns and everybody's got to play long tones and you've got to have this range and all that kind of stuff. Like having fun in band comes with the territory with this human. So don't misunderstand. Like it's way at the top for me as well. Nico, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I again, I kind of agree with both of you guys. Like I see it both ways, and it might just be like selfishly too, but like I look at my ensemble and I'm like, okay, we are, we're doing all these pass offs, we're doing all these scales, we're doing all this work with etudes. I'm trying to push private lessons as much as possible, trying to bring in teachers to do sectionals and whatnot. Like selfishly, I do kind of want to create like the best performance ensemble that I can, because I feel like it's wasted if I have all of these really incredible individual musicians if we can't pull off like, crazy music or hard music, or like take easy music and just make it as gorgeous and, like musical and nuance and like all of those other things. Cause I do totally agree. Like I want to create like Ryan, I think you mentioned last week, like we want to create the complete musician, the independent musician. Like that is ultimately our goal. Is we want kids to walk out of our program and be able to go anywhere and be successful on their horn, playing jazz music, playing, you know, chamber music, playing ensemble music, like whatever, like large ensemble marching band, like we want them to be able to go and take on any role and be successful. But also I again, like I look at some of my kids, I'm like, man, there are like some really strong musicians in here. Like we need to make like some really incredible music, like with these kids that are sitting in front of me. So I don't know, like I look at it both ways in terms of like and it might just be like a little selfish, but like I go into those rehearsals every day and I'm like, dadgummit, like this is gonna be perfect. Like we're gonna play some really beautiful music, whether you like it or not. But
No, totally. And I'd be pissed if you weren't. You know, like I'd be mad if you weren't, because I'd be lying right now, and I'm not saying anybody in particular at all, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I've walked into a ton of band rooms and listened to the bands and went, no, no, right? That the other is true. We're having tons of fun and we're playing music, and it's not quality. It's too hard, man.
right.
I can't. God, if I could one thing, it's. Go ahead, Ryan.
I have a lot of friends who are in their first and second year teaching, and it's been fun talking to them and working with them, and just hanging out with them. And I find that a lot of new teachers focus too much on the skill sets before they get the students to love them and love music.
All right.
Like I have found that.
What does that look like?
Like,
what does that look like?
I find that before I can have granted, they got to walk in and sit down correctly, like that. Everything has to happen like that. But I have found, and my whole like teaching philosophy is, if they don't at least want to listen to me and want to learn more about what they're playing, then they're not going to be successful. And I've found that I've talked to some friends of mine who are like, man, they just don't practice, they don't sit down and do anything, and then like I go and we work together and I watch a little thing, and they're focused so much more on getting a kid to play a long tone with the right tone quality, instead of like getting kids to they aren't teaching it in an interesting enough way. In a way where the kids are like, oh, it like they're talking like they were in college still, and they haven't found a way to say it to sixth graders in a way that they're going to actually enjoy listening to it.
Yeah, I was like, part of that like love for it comes from like the passion with which I feel like sometimes and like you said too, like younger teachers. I found myself being really guilty of this, like my first and second year teaching. I was so afraid of like showing personality to the kids because I didn't want them to like abuse it. I didn't want to be too fun because then I didn't want to be like that fun guy that they could just walk all over. So there's definitely like a portion of that that's just like developing the rapport with your kids through like the passion. And like Dean, you were like the master of this. Like I loved your jazz band rehearsals. Like they were just fun, and they weren't fun and like loose and out of control. They were fun because you were so passionate about making jazz, like and swinging and sounding good. So yeah, no, there's definitely a component of it that's like you need to hammer all of that while still like being yourself, like being true to like who you are as an educator. But yeah, definitely.
Let me circle back to something real quick.
I kind of got to.
I think that something. God, I think a lot. I guess I think a lot. Lit wise, Larry Gookin's great band director up in Washington State, long since retired, taught at Central Washington University forever. Once said to me, he's like, teach the band you have, right? That like, I see this, man, I see this so much, like judging festivals. I'll be down in Vegas doing jazz festivals in a couple of weeks. And I see bands playing tunes that the director wants to play, and it doesn't fit the band. Think about jazz band. When you were in my jazz band, I picked charts that fit those humans that were standing in the band at the time. And if we had and you can think about, the Wind Symphony at Foothill too, that we had tons of times where we'd throw a piece of music in front of you. We'd spend a couple of days looking at it and then be like, no, this isn't it. Right. That it wasn't, I want to play prelude, fugues, and riffs, and we're going to learn how to play it. It was, I have the musicians that can do that piece.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do it. And when I throw the music in front of them, after looking at it a couple of times and giving it the yeoman's work, we go, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I did that just this week with my jazz band. My jazz band only gets together twice a week, and we've got a festival in a few weeks, and they had a tune in front of them, and it wasn't going to happen. And instead of hammering it, making them feel bad about it, I'm like, guys, this isn't your tune. It's just not right. And again, revisiting the session concept, I've sat through so many sessions where they're like, this tune will work great for your band.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
I feel
this.
that goes back into like the idea of assessment too, because like, in a math class, you're teaching the same curriculum year to year, but we have to be like really flexible and fluid with like the curriculum that we give our kids. And I take that, like exactly what you're saying. I take that super seriously. I dig in and I probably spend, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours listening through stuff when I'm programming like a festival program, because I want to make sure that I'm highlighting the great things in the ensemble and efficiently hiding the not as great things in the ensemble.
Right.
And like there's totally bands that, like you said, yeah, it's people programming music that they loved when they were in middle school, or things that they wanted to play when they were in middle school, or that they did in their honor band or that they did in their regional band, and not necessarily things
Right,
that
or they hear it on the front page of Pepper.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they're going through Pepper, they hear it on page Pepper, and they go, "That's a cool chart," and they don't think about the fact that I have no horns, and this tune is. My community band. I'm really lucky to run a community band here in this little town, and I did a transcription of a Grieg overture years ago, and we pulled that out. I handed it out, and I had one horn player there tonight, and there's the entire middle section is a 4-horn choir. And so but all of a sudden, meh, 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 right? We just have like this long section of poor Julie is just honking away by herself on third horn. And that, honest to God, I have judged bands before where they have played pieces of music where they just didn't have the players to play the music because that was what they decided they wanted to play. So, you just kind of addressed that, Nico, as like how you look at programming for festival. I'm not good at that. I'm a lot like Travis. And again, I'm talking like everybody in the world. There will be 3 people that watch this, but like everybody in the world knows who I'm talking about. I had the pleasure of teaching for several years at Foothill High School in Henderson, Nevada. It's in Clark County School District outside of Las Vegas. And Travis Purdy is the director of bands, a phenomenal band director, one of my favorite band directors in the country. And one of the things about Travis, and this is actually going to drive us into my next part of the conversation, that I've always enjoyed, but it's made me nuts, is that he won't pick a program till like a week and a half before festival.
Yeah.
And he'll throw out grade 5 lit, grade 5.5 lit at the band, and then be like, I don't think so. And like throw something else out,
Yeah.
And he has the horses to pull it off. But I've never been the guy that in the summer sat and went, here's my set for the year. Like I have friends here who teach, and in fact, I had somebody, this is hilarious. We were at the bar at WIBIC. I don't know if you guys know what this festival is, but or conference is. It's the Western International Band Clinic. It's in Seattle.
Okay.
And it's a great thing. It's like big honor band. Bands come from all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting at the bar, and one of my a student that I knew that was at Central Washington when I was doing my master's, so I taught them in their ensembles, was like, Snavely, I know you're one of those guys that like during the summer, like you pick your lit for the whole year and you've got it all lined up. And I'm like, no, dude, like, not even a little bit. I'm panicking and ordering e-print stuff.
I was just saying, that's why e-print exists right there.
right, totally, absolutely. Do you guys feel like, and I don't think there's a right or wrong on it.
Yeah.
Ryan, I feel like you're both you guys, I feel like probably put things together in a pretty organized way. I think your dad would probably smack you if you didn't. So, how do you guys look at like picking lit? Is there some stuff you do kind of off the cuff? Is there stuff that you know ahead of time? Like, here's what my advanced band's going to look like this year. I think I'm going to try to do this, J. Rod Hall or something like that.
Well, honestly, a lot of mine is a mix of I am just scouring through JW Pepper in just listening to honestly probably around 50 to 60 pieces, and listening for what I think is going to sound good with the ensemble, something they'll find interesting. Mixed with I reach out to mentors like, hey, I have this ensemble, I have this section that's really strong right now. Do you have any sort of pieces that might fit that thing? And honestly, like I have one piece I picked because of a mentor that gave it to me, and I have two of them that I picked from J.W. Pepper, and I'm just sitting there listening, and for me, I just listen until something catches my eye, like my ear. Oh, this is an interesting song, and then I'll look at it like, okay, the score, this fits my ensemble well. Hopefully, this works. And this year I've had a lot better success, but definitely last year, my first year, it was a lot of let's
Mhm.
sight read this. Oh my, you cannot play any of this. I'm gonna put
Yeah.
this away. You can't play any of
Right.
this. In
Yeah.
fact, I remember one time last year, I even apologized to the ensemble. They loved the song. I was like, hey, I'm really sorry, but this is me, a new teacher, new mistake. This work is way out of your wheelhouse for right now. Maybe in 2 years we can play this. Not right now. But it was a lot of trial and error, and but also a lot of reaching out to mentors of like, hey, do you think this program will work?
Right. I love that you did that because that's another thing of that building rapport with your kids, right?
Yeah.
That you can look at them and go, listen, you guys are awesome. Like you're wonderful human beings, but this ain't gonna work. Like
Yeah.
we did that. We did the same thing with a piece a little while ago where I was like, we had one that was too easy that we had gone through and it's cool. It's a cool piece. Like it's so band, right? But it's just so easy. We learned it in like 3 rehearsals.
Yeah.
And they're like, can we play Dark Waters again? Can we play Dark Waters again? And I'm like, you know what? Let's just never play it again. That was cool that we did that. But if you guys can learn a piece of music in 3 rehearsals, it's the wrong piece of music for you. You know what I mean? And then on the other side of the coin, like another piece where it was like, this is a perfect piece for this band, and 3-4 rehearsals in was like, you guys are awesome, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that, you look, and that's fun when you have, especially if it's like an intermediate or an early group, that then you bring it back when they're an advanced group and go, hey, you guys remember this piece that we looked at that was so hard that we couldn't play, hand it back out, and it becomes something that can be really successful.
Yep. Yeah. No, totally. I kind of, okay. So I'm a little nerdy about how I organize. So I have my like,
I see it all. Here we go.
so I love digging through. I just listen as much as I can. Like if I know I have a pretty good commute to Mannion every morning. I have like a good like 40-minute drive. So I'm just like pulling up Alfred grade 3 playlists and just digging, just listening, or Alfred grade 2 playlists. Carol Britton chant, what's her Excelsior or whatever. Like everybody, all the publishers, they have like their playlists on YouTube of like, here's our grade 1.5s, here's our grade 2s, here's our grade 2.5s, here's our 3s, here's our 1. I just like dig through. So I have this spreadsheet where I keep tabs on like, okay, here's charts that I liked, here's charts that I like.
I want that.
Okay, I'll
Send me
share.
that spreadsheet.
Well,
I'll take that. I'll take that too.
So like Festival 2027 and like ideas for next year, like based on kids that I have. Like I was sitting there, and again, this is just like, I'm sitting there over the summer, like I'm bored. It's the middle of June and it's 110 degrees outside, and I have like nothing else to do. So I'm just like sitting there listening to charts and like writing down, this has a really beautiful euphonium solo and I have really great euphonium players, or like, oh, this has like a really cool like horn solo and I have a good horns like section this year. So I do try to plan in advance, but it always changes. Like I planned like a winter concert and I passed out all the charts, and I think I didn't play anything that I had planned over the summer for the winter. So like
I love that you checked. I love that you checked. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we read like Joy by Kelly, and I was like, oh, that's a cute little like, and I know it's not a Christmas song, but Joy, like that'd be a fun little thing.
Right.
And it did not fit the group at all, and they hated it, and I was like, we are not doing this. Like that is not going to happen. But yeah, I take it really seriously, because it's like if we're going to sit here and work on this chart for 3 months, like I want it to be something that's fun. I try not to pick like, there's like those really bandy like one word exclamation point titles. Like I try to avoid like the cheesy stuff, trying to get into like not even necessarily that titles have anything to do with it, but I just like I feel like there's some really, really good quality middle school music out there. So I try to really dig through and find that good quality stuff. Because if I don't want to play it, like if I'm listening to it and I'm not excited by it, like how is a 12-year-old going to be excited by it? So That's a big thing, is like Ryan said, like listening, finding something that like piques your interest, making sure that it fits the group, making sure that like range is appropriate. Another big thing, like this year I haven't had to worry about it as much, but at Schofield I only ever had like 5 or 6 percussionists, and there was a ton of music that I would like find and I'd be like, oh my god, like that's so cool, oh my god, there's 12 percussion parts. And like, so just like all those other little like Callie right now is teaching. She has a really incredible band, but she has 5 percussionists, so she has to be
Callie
like
is Nico's wife.
yeah, sorry, Callie, my wife,
Yeah.
incredible
Okay,
musician, elementary teacher, incredible elementary teacher, incredible band teacher. And like that's something like we're always looking, like digging through JW Pepper, like, oh my god, like that piece is cool. Shoot, it's by Randall Sandridge and it has 15 percussion parts. Okay. Okay, that piece is really cool. Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love programming. I remember like my first year teaching, I hated programming. I was super like intimidated by it. And then now I just like, it's my favorite thing to do, is like picking a fun program for the kids. Yeah.
I've always felt like that was a skill set that I really had from way back. And I think part of it is being a performer and being on stage a lot. And my job was performing music that people would pay for tickets.
Right.
Right. And so understanding the pacing of how an audience has to consume an art form and all of those other things. I think one of the things I see a lot, especially in the grade 2, grade 3 lit, 2.5, some 3, is the first 60 to 90 seconds is please buy my chart.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is thanks for buying my chart.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of music.
I like your one word, explanatory, right? Right. And that again, that's not gonna determine it. But man, there's a lot of music out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of music out there. And there's a lot of great classic stuff that's out there. But we have really phenomenal new composers that are throwing music out weekly.
Yeah.
Really, really cool stuff. And really not cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the discernment, and I can be wrong on this, but I feel like the discernment in the publishing houses has gotten a little bit, I don't want to get canceled, but it feels a little bit lazy of, hey, that person wrote a 104 measure piece of music. We should publish that, but it's incumbent upon us to not buy it if it's not something that's really going to inspire the kids.
Yeah.
The audience will love what the audience loves. The great thing about our job is that we have an audience who, no matter how the kids sound, their parents are going to love it.
Yeah.
And they're the only ones that are dumb. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
We're playing to a captive audience. Mom is going to be proud of her kid, unless he's standing on his chair using his baritone for a bazooka, like, then she won't acknowledge her kid, right? I always tell the kids that. I'm like, please don't be the kid whose parent goes, no, that's not my kid. You want them to be proud.
Right.
Yeah, cool. Well, cool. I love all of that. I want to shift, if we could, because we were on assessment, and I think lit is certainly part of assessment, but maybe we've drifted a little bit. I tripped on, and this came from a session of using AI in our classroom in assessment. I had actually a really cool project that I did. I would encourage you to try sometime when you need to have a couple of minutes of redirect. I stole it from our tech person in our school district. I got a Bluetooth speaker. I set it up in my room. I put my phone on Gemini or on ChatGPT on voice. And I said, will you please, for the next few minutes, assume the role of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and answer some questions about your life for my 6th grade band students. And the AI person was like, I would love to do that. That seems like a super cool thing. And then my kids asked questions, and the AI answered the questions. And it was a super engaging way to start my year. I don't do it anymore. But like that first couple of weeks, especially my sixth graders, we did Mozart, we did Jacob Collier, we did Michael Jackson.
That's
we
fun.
did yeah, it was really fun, and just a couple of minutes, just like a bell ringer at the beginning of the period was really cool. And so I thought I hated AI, and I've gone to conferences where they've sat and told us it's the best thing and we have to embrace it because it's here and it's not going to go anywhere. And they're not wrong. But again, a dear friend of mine, Jeff Smith, he's a phenomenal trumpet player, great middle school band director, did his master's degree. In his master's thesis, he said, music classes are the only classes where we could take someone from 150 years ago, drop them in the middle of the classroom, and they could just hit the ground running. I'm thinking violinist from 1785 and put them in an orchestra classroom with us, and they could read the music that we're reading, and their head explode, that we're doing something that has been around for a really long time. And so we don't need it. My TV in my room could explode. My sound system could go on the fritz, and I could still run a really, really fine band rehearsal.
Right.
That said, it is here. And so I found an exercise. I showed it to you guys, and I'll put it in the comments afterwards, of dealing with at-home practice and assessing at-home practice. And basically what I did was I created a document that the kids have every week. It goes home on a Google form, and it's simple. It says, did you practice 3 or more times outside of class this week? It can be during advisory, before and after school, during lunches, at home, whatever. Yes or no question. And then what did you get better at this week? And what are you going to look at to get better at next week? And that's the entire document. And I threw the results from that document into Gemini. And I said, can you put this by class, put this by last name, and then grade the intentionality of the answers of those 2 questions. What did you accomplish this week? What are you going to do next week? Mm-hmm. And created a rubric of 5-point, 8-point, and 10-point answer to those questions of, I practice my scales, 5 points. I practice my F, B flat, and E flat scales because I have a test on those next week and I'm not very good at them, 8 points. I practice my music from measure 26 to 32 because I keep screwing up the dotted 8/16th rhythm and I really want to get it so I'm not struggling with it anymore. Super intentional, 10-point answer, right? And then the same thing for the next week. And I had AI do all the grading for me. It gave me a document in the end that just had kids' names and points. Bibbidi-bob, done. And dump it right in. And I imagine if I was smart enough, I could probably get it to even dump it right into my grading software.
You probably could import it. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so the point for me, though, was something like that, because I love listening to pass-offs. I love listening to in-class assessments and everything else. But to have the kids be intentional and responsible for home practice, but not have to eat up a whole bunch of my time looking at parent-signed documents for at-home practice and all that other stuff.
Right.
It's an experiment, right? I'm just doing it now, and we're in the middle of it. I think we're on week 6 of this project now, and so far it's been pretty good. I had 2 parents so far that have sent me emails like, my kid didn't really. I see my kid got full credit for practice last week. He didn't bring his horn home once, and I pulled a Travis and I called the kid up and I'm like, hey, dude, come here. And I'm like, hey, about practice. He goes, I know. My mom already talked to me. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? And he's like, can I make it up? And I'm like, yeah, of course. What do you want to do? Can I come in on, while you're doing jazz band, can I come in and go to the practice room and practice? I'm like, yes, I'll double your points for that.
Yeah,
like
right.
that's fine, and it solved the problem. So that was something that created an opportunity for me to be able to assess with very low effort on my own part, giving me time to do the other things that we need to do. Mm-hmm. Also, focus on the intentionality. So I want to know, you guys are young and like you're way smarter than I am with, tech crap and all of that. What are you doing? What are you doing in your teaching that's efficient? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because as a young teacher, you can decide, I'm going to get up at 5:30. I'm going to plan my day and do my lesson plans. I'm going to teach all day. I'm going to go home. I'm going to listen to JW Pepper and pick my music for the next time and grade all of these pass offs and, fall in bed at night and do the same thing the next day. Cause that's, a lot of young teachers do that, but you guys are super smart. So what are you doing that's efficient that you could share? If there's any.
And again, I like, not to make it like a commercial or anything, but Make Music does do a lot of grading for you, which is nice. I mentioned last time how I'll use Make Music for it's pretty good for pass offs and for scales, but for like some low instruments, it's not super accurate on how it grades. Like mostly it's looking for pitch accuracy and timing. So the timing is mostly correct, but like it'll register pitches as like the wrong octave, or like it'll just say it's a wrong note when the kid is playing the right note, stuff like that. So it is pretty good. It'll mostly do grading for you. Which then I can just go and like copy and paste and like plug into my grade book. Or again, I think there's a way that you can just have it synced up directly into like your LMS or whatever. I have not done that. I just go and manually convert it over. But I am also still trying to figure out ways like outside of like assigning those video pass offs where you just have to like sit there and take a ton of time and listen, to still get that, but like maybe not have to take 6 hours listening to videos in order to get that result. The Make Music way is an efficient way to do that, but it's not quite the same as some of the assignments are a little different. I can't have as much flexibility with the assignments on Make Music. I can't have as much freedom as just like putting it on Canvas and like saying, okay, everybody, this is your assignment, go press record and submit it. But it does help. It is a good start. It does save me some time and I don't have to sit there and grade the same scale for hours and hours and hours because most of it's already graded for me.
Okay. Ryan, what do you think?
It's a hard time in the career because I feel like as of right now, I am doing everything as least efficient as I possibly not on purpose, but like I am doing everything as full out as physically possible right now, and then I'm trying to find what I can rein in. That I'm like, I don't need to do this. It's not really worth it for the full thing, and I have found in a kind of a different way. Anytime I can cut out students writing things for me, I have cut it. As of right now, because I have found that it wasn't worth it. And it might be with different, different school districts, different areas, different clientele, different things. Anytime I had them write, took way more effort to get them to write with full effort than it was to get them to even play their playing test. And like anytime I had to,
it doesn't matter.
Huh?
Right? Which one has more weight?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I absolutely want my kids to be literate and I want them to write, but I really want them to be able to play the French horn, right?
Well, and that is important in English class. And of course, I should do everything I can to support the main academics.
Sure.
And the only thing I would find with the AI method that you use through Gemini and all those form feedback, I have found that every time I gave students forms, even with my top ensemble, the responses I got back were frustratingly like bad. And man, I probably can preempt them better. I can talk to them more about it. Like, hey, here's how you're supposed to answer this. Here's how you're supposed to do that. But that does take more time in that context. But I do love the way that you're having them give feedback. And the AI response to it is going to be fantastic because it takes away so much hours of grading, which is a big thing.
I said, I'll share this however, I don't know. I'm still learning Substack, but I'll share this in the notes of this. The thing that worked for me and made it so when it grades it creates another tab on the Google sheet that has their names and all grades on it. And I went ahead and left it open and said, listen, guys, if you did poorly, like there were only 6 grades on the grade book at the time. And if they got 5s on 3 weeks of their practice, those kids are getting Ds at best. Right. And so that'll get everybody's ears immediately perk up like, oh my God, my kid has a D in band. Right. Yeah. And that gets fixed pretty quickly. And so I left it open and I said, listen, if you didn't like the way you answered that question, be better. Go back to week 2 and rewrite what you wrote. And so then when I look down that sheet, they'll have 2 grades. The first one will say, Jimmy Johnson 5, and then Jimmy Johnson 8 or Jimmy Johnson 10. And I want to reward them for that. I went back, I re-answered the intentionality of what I'm going to do next week, and it jacked up my grade and then worked. I didn't have to do anything other than say that grade book is still open. And if you want to fix it, and the kids who are like, I forgot to do my practice assignment. Did you practice? Yeah, go do it. Like, I'm not going to not give you credit. I mean, at a certain point, I'm going to close it. But if you practiced and you forgot to turn it in, don't. I'm not here to fail you in band. I'm here to support you getting better. So just in my experience, and again, this is a finite chunk of data at this point, but in my experience, the low grades took care of the problems of the poorly intentional answers.
Yeah.
And the parents who watch their kids' grades.
That helps.
Yeah, my son practices 30 minutes a day. Why does he have a C in band? I'm like, well, here's his answer for week 2 practice. Scales. That was the answer for question 3. Scales. That's one word. That's not intentional. And take it back. Brian, actually, this goes back to what you were saying about written answers. This goes back to how I can tie this into their LA and say, listen, these kids are in school and I'm cross-curricularly working on literacy. Like these kids have to be able to use their words. So just know that again, it's not a product. I'm not selling it, but it worked for me. And again, it was one of those things where when we were at NAM, the whole conference was focused on future ready skills. And there were probably 2 or 3 different sessions that were about AI in the classroom. And honestly, I didn't feel like any of them I could actually use.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, use a beat generator so your kids can create their own metronomes. And I'm like, that's neat, but they can also put in funk quarter note equals 60 on YouTube and have a way cooler in a build-in GarageBand,
That's what we do.
And I found with AI, especially in technology in general, the less I have my students on it and the more I can use it to help leverage my time and that the way I can teach them has been a lot better. Anytime that it goes to like any like busy work I can do, if I can offload it to AI, I'm gonna offload it if it's something that I don't need to focus on. Like and there's a few things like I have definitely like for my winter break, I spent a lot of time going over my spring curriculum because my beginners were doing a lot better than they were last year. So I was like, oh, my curriculum last year is not going to work anymore because we're more successful right now. And through that, I sat down, I wrote down like things I want to focus on, and I put all that into there. And I said, hey, here are my goals right now. Here are the intentions I want to get there. I need you to set me an 18-week path to get to these goals and have these assessments based off this thing. And it really helped me. One, it kept my linear thoughts more linear. And 2, I knew enough about the information to know like, oh, it's wrong here. It's going to take more time here. It's going to take more time here. But it really took away an 8-hour process to make it 35 minutes to 40 minutes. So that's my thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's a gal here in town in Seattle that wrote a book called I Love My Job, But It's Killing Me or something like that. And she has a podcast that she runs, and she did a couple of things like in the early AI days where she was like, you can save yourselves hours a day. And you guys know me. I can be the most obnoxious skeptic in the world. I call BS on everything. I'm better now. I'm very much I've embraced the it's not wrong, it's different mentality. And I've really, really worked on being a lot less judgmental. But I want to use these kind of tools to be more efficient. I don't know that we need these tools to be better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? That like, I wanted to be able to save my time, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to work less hard. I don't want to use it so that my job is easier. I hate that thought.
Yeah.
Like,
you can just redirect that energy towards things that are more important. I'm not sitting here grading for 8 hours. Not that grading is not important, but I'm not doing this like
it's tedious.
Right. I'm not doing this tedious task when I could be like programming or like
actually giving one feedback to a
like
student.
Stuff like that.
Or doing your own music. You
know? Right.
I pulled out Bluebells the other day and decided I was gonna like memorize Bluebells because I haven't played it in 100 years.
Sure.
And like that kind of stuff is important to us too, and that's actually kind of how we're gonna wrap this up. Is I want to know what you guys are doing musically for yourselves these days. What are you doing?
And actually, Nick and I actually talked about this, and this is not really in terms of playing, but I have found that being a middle school band director, I have lost myself into grade 1.5 and grade 2s and grade 3s, and I haven't listened to anything that really challenges my brain in terms of musically. So honestly, anytime I sit down to do anything or I'm going somewhere, I have really tried to put on playlists of the greats composers and just sat down and listened to them again. And like give my mind the actual what music could be, what it is, what the greats were, and getting my brain back into that, and that's been great for me. Is just listening again with a different mindset.
Yeah, Ryan and I were on a grind for a little bit. He's still going to the gym. I haven't been as good, but we were at the beginning of the year. We were at the gym like every day, and we'd be sitting there like doing bench press or whatever, and it's like the Bruckner whatever symphony we're listening to, like that was
bench
Ryan.
press to Bruckner.
Hey, no, it was awesome. Yeah, the brass chorale and Mahler 2's playing while we're like doing like bench maxes and stuff. Yeah. So that, yeah, no, for sure. Lots of listening. I try to play some. So I play euphonium in the Desert Winds, which is like a community group that we have out here. We just played at Midwest actually. So we got to go to Chicago. That was my first time going to Midwest.
Very fun, dude.
Yeah, it's a great ensemble. I play every once in a while with like the Vegas Brass Band. So I try to play. Brian and I both like teach some private lessons, so that's nice too. It's like nice to be in a one-on-one setting with like a high school kid or a middle school kid and be able to work on stuff outside of just band literature all the time. Touch on etudes, touch on technique books. Lots of playing. I have my instrument just out in class all the time, so like any chance that I can pick it up and like shed through, I don't know, the Cosma or like the whatever, just like whatever I have in my fingertips. Like I try to play some because sometimes I feel like we forget that we are here because we loved music first.
That was
so
where
like,
I was going with it. Right?
Yeah,
that's what this room is.
right.
So we had this tiny little room in our house, and I went and put the sound deadening stuff and created a studio so we can record. And
Right.
Jake did a podcast yesterday with a friend of his, and
that's awesome.
Put music in and do the thing, and for myself, I'm playing again. I'm back in the union, and have been doing some fairly regular playing. And so for me, it's been a little bit of survival too, because chops and I play everything from tenor bone to tuba, and so there's a lot of work that has to be done in that.
Sure.
But for me, as far as teaching goes, the more I play, the better I feel that I represent music to my kids. That if I'm doing, I feel like there's more passion in what I'm doing when I'm teaching, because I'm actually playing. And there was a whole lot of years of my life where I wasn't spending time on the horn. And there's different kinds of teachers. Like, I've been a professional musician my whole life, right? And so for me, that's an integral part of my existence as a musician and as an educator. There's an awful lot of educators out there that are really good musicians, but they didn't make a living playing their instrument. They wanted to teach music, and they kill at it, and they're great at it. I don't think there's a right or wrong, but I know both you guys, are both phenomenal players, absolutely phenomenal players.
Thank you.
And I think that keeping that part of you alive is what keeps the blood going through the veins for me.
Definitely.
Yeah. I have found that it gives my brain legitimacy again. Like if I'm teaching a group, like last summer I taught a drum corps, and I hadn't played Melfa in a while. I got braces. My playing was just atrocious. And for a little bit, I was just like, why am I teaching these students when I can't even do what I'm asking them to do? Like, I could have, when I was in college, I could do it easily. That's what I have. Like, as of right now, I couldn't. And so for about a month, I got my horn playing back to where it was again. And one, it taught me again what I needed to focus on for them and give them more context, but also gave my brain legitimacy of like, no, you are good enough to teach them how to do this. You did it yesterday. Like, this is fine.
Right.
Yeah. Like that, like we all struggle with like imposter syndrome of like, I don't really do this. Like, I can't do this. I can't hang. I get that all the time. Like, I have a bad day at school and I'm like the worst band teacher in the world. Why am I here? Like, who put me here?
One parent, like one
One
grumpy
email will
parent
get
or
you.
Yeah.
grader, and I'm the worst. I
Right.
should just quit.
Yeah.
Do
Like
garbage. Yeah.
whose idea was it that I should be like here doing this, right? And then like you go on the horn and you're like, like I do this, like this is what I do, like this is I belong here. And I feel like yeah, it for sure like gives you like that sense of like I love music. This is where I want to be. This is what I'm doing. What I'm loving. Like yeah, it it like can center you on those bad days for sure.
That's awesome. All right, we're gonna wrap up. So Ryan, what's your next thing? What's your band doing? What's the next thing happening?
We got a little pre-festival. It's be a good time. We're on Wednesday preparing pretty hard for it. It should be good. As long as the ballad stays together and they continue to breathe, we'll be all right.
There you go.
What's your lit for that?
We're playing In Your Wildest Dreams by Tyler S. Grant. We're playing Forever by Brian Balmages and Byzantine Dances. So
Nice.
it'll be a fun time.
Nico, what about you? What's the next thing?
So everybody just did this like music for all like festival thing, some high schools, some middle schools. So we played our festival lit. That was like last weekend. My intermediate group has their intermediate festival this week, and then just like CCSD festival, jazz festival. I'm excited to see you there, and that's mostly
Yeah.
it. We're kind of on the downhill now a little bit. Like
Yeah, you guys get
super late
early.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you guys get done so early. We're done the second week of June.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
like
what
right
third
in
week of May or whatever. But at that point, like instruments are cleaned, instruments are inventoried, they're put away, they're checked out for the summer or whatever. Like we're almost there.
Well, we right now is the flooring. We're flooring the car right now until the spring concert.
Right. So we have our like a district. We're a one high school district. It's a huge school. High school has 3,200 kids.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a huge high school. And I have 1,000 at my middle school. There's two middle schools, both about 1,000. And we have like a district festival where all of my bands and all the high school bands get together one night, and then the other middle school does the same thing. And and each of the bands play on that, and then we have our regional festival, like kind of your district festival,
Right.
kind of thing, like in the next couple of weeks, and then it's on to spring program and my jazz to a festival in a couple of weeks, way out of town, little town called Leavenworth. So it's that time of year. I'll tell you, man, switching from high school back to middle school, like when I was in high school, it was every single day from 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night or later.
Right.
And it was always a basketball game. It was always a football game. It was always chamber music. It was lovely. I loved it. The kids were amazing. The music they made was spectacular. But man, being able to be like I'm right now, I'm playing with the Brass Band Northwest, a really, really fine brass band. I'm writing a arrangement for the Haddad Tuba Concerto for brass band. And I'm doing that with them a little bit.
That's awesome.
And again and playing and doing stuff, and it's just it's cool to be in a place where coming down to Vegas and doing jazz festival, and I'm doing the high school honor jazz with Schroeder, and all good stuff. It's really fun. So
no, middle school is the best.
No, yeah, it's really cool. I've always said it's kind of best kept secret. We get to do beautiful things and make beautiful music, but we also kind of get to have lives.
Right.
And for you guys, being young and in relationships with amazing human beings and everything else, it's pretty cool you're doing it. So I want to say thank you so much for doing this. It's late, and we know we got to get Ryan to bed. It's way past time. So he's got to stay on the Phil Haynes schedule, and he's an hour past his 90-night time. So sorry, man, I had to give you some crap. I'm sorry. So I want to thank you a ton, Nico Lopez, Ryan Haynes, for joining me for this first one. And if nobody ever listens to it, I don't really care. That we get to sit and talk about what we like to do is a pretty cool thing. In the next few weeks, we're going to have your band director and one of my best friends in the world, Travis Pardee. He and I are going to sit and get this one. We're going to talk about why do you let your band suck? We're going to talk a little bit about what it means to be okay making the changes, making the purposeful intent of making sure that the product that you put in front of an audience is spectacular, and that at the high school level, especially when you're in a competitive situation, there's nothing else. That is what we do. That we put a product out that is the highest quality possible, and sometimes we have to be magicians to make that work. And I think he's one of the best in the business at doing that. So we're going to be talking to him about that. I'm going to be getting Ryan's dad on here to talk about how to be tough but kind, because I think that he may be one of the best people in the world at doing that. And some other people as well. We're gonna have some pretty cool stuff. So I thank you guys for joining me, and we'll keep doing this. There'll be shorts that will be going out on the socials, as the kids say, and as well, this will be available on replays. So thanks a ton. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
All right, you bet. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.